We will have what we call an EOcafe. An EOcafe, but live this time, for the first time. So I invite Geoff Sawyer, you all know Geoff Sawyer, of course, and Dusan Chrenek, Principal Advisor, Digital for the Green Transition from DG CLIMA, to take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Great final message, Ingrid. Really good. I liked the panel on the skills gap and the education needs, but I was specifically struck by the slide that Giuseppe showed just before lunch about the profile of ages in the sector. Well, I'm not sure if it was sector or space. But with a peak of the over 85s, and that struck me as being slightly anomalous, and I wonder where they all are. Okay, so welcome everybody to the EOcafe, an exceptional EOcafe, live from Expandeo. English language is quite flexible and quite complex at times, as I'm sure you'll agree. Exceptional means something which is deviating from a norm. So today, we're deviating from a norm in many ways, and that's the flexibility of the language. So, you know, this is it's a rare event. So this is the first time we do the EOcafe in such of a large audience. It's exceptional in quality. I mean, all our EOcafes are exceptional in quality, of course, but with Dusan here with us today. And I alluded to it, but it's exceptional because it's the largest physical audience. It's not a difficult metric to beat, because probably our biggest audience up to date has been physical presence. Of course, we have several hundred online, and hopefully we have a number online with us today. Because it's an exceptional EOcafe, the logistics are slightly different. So the normal messages about cameras and microphones don't apply. But if you want to ask a question, the other exceptional factor is only a half-hour EOcafe, so it's going to be a challenge. But if you have some questions, please put them into the Q&A, not into the chat, as usual. And by some mysterious process, they should appear on the screen in front of me, which I shall probably then have to read out. So that's where we are. So I really want to welcome Dusan Chrenek from DG CLIMA. Dusan is Principal Advisor on Digital for the Green Transition. So we're going to be talking about technology for the Green Deal and what Earth observation technology can do. But before I introduce the subject a little bit more and we get going, Dusan, please, maybe you could just say a few words about yourself, your role, and how you got where you are.
Thanks a lot. And firstly, let me express my gratitude for the invitation and for an opportunity to be with the community that is helping us to fight against climate change. We are more users in DG Climate Action, so we are not building satellites. We are not providing Earth observation data, but we use it in our policies. Personally, we are more now only really expanding to this area. So it's something new for us, like really to participate in the definition of space policies and also how we are going to use it. So my focus is on digital technologies, on also to tackle their emissions, so increase emissions from digital technologies, and use its enabling power. So really to use digital technologies for decarbonization of several sectors, and also use them for our climate policies. The same is for space policy, to use Earth observation, monitoring, modeling for climate policies. And as a small part, also now I'm starting to look at the solar radiation modification. So that is one sensitive area that it's still not so developed. And it's because of its sensitivities, we are very cautious about developments in this area, but we also have to look at it, like to look what is feasible, to have research in this area, and to have also governments of solar radiation modification.
Okay, thanks, thanks, Dusan. So the green agenda has been developed and promoted in Europe, which has led to the European Green Deal, with the policy objective to make Europe the first climate-neutral continent. Big goals, big words. We've heard several times during the day, I think, about the specific goals of the Green Deal. We maybe repeat them later, but we've also heard a lot of very detailed examples of where Earth observation can help contribute to SDGs, to other green policies. Mark Dowell has said that Copernicus is now recognized in 9 different EU policies, which is a great progress, and this is just the start. So our EOcafe today is continuing this theme of, and in line with the objectives of this Expandeo, by looking at how DG CLIMA is perceiving the EO contribution as part of this wider approach of the use of, a wider appreciation of the role and use of digital technologies as a contribution to meeting the Green Deal objectives. So it's a real pleasure, Dusan, to have you with us. As I understand, your role is looking at, you've just said, digital technologies contributing to many different sectors, either by reducing emissions or providing more information. We're mainly focused on satellite technologies. So can you tell us a bit more about what this really means in practice?
I would like to highlight that really with our large-scale deployment of digital technologies and also space technologies, we are not going to achieve our goal of climate neutrality by 2050. We need both. We need digital transition in order to be successful in green transition. And we are very happy that we have Copernicus, the most developed Earth observation system in the world. And also it's really good that you are also part of this success, because many private companies, businesses, they participate in Copernicus through contributing missions, but also in modeling, monitoring of weather, land, oceans. So altogether, Copernicus provides an extreme amount of data, and this data is useful for many purposes. Firstly, to demonstrate climate change impacts. So continuing observation of the Earth by satellites, we have clear evidence of climate changes, loss of Arctic sea ice, or impacts of droughts, forest fires. We have clear evidence, and also we have better data for climate science, for evidence-based policy, and also for implementation of our climate policies. Copernicus has 6 services, and all of them are important for climate policies, but the most important services are climate change service, emergency service, and also land monitoring service. Climate service gives us reliable, high-quality data about climate change. And there is also interaction. Like recently, we had a presentation of Copernicus service on state of climate in Europe. And already changing climate is worrying. Like in Europe, we have much higher warming than other parts of the world. Already Europe is 2.2 degrees Celsius warmer than in pre-industrial period, and in Arctic is 3 degrees Celsius higher. So therefore we have to react, and as a reaction also we will have a special mission satellite for Arctic crystal. So we need to react and to find new solutions. Land monitoring. I think that today my colleague Simon Kay was discussing use of land monitoring for our LULUCF regulation, so to monitor land use change, forestry, but also for future carbon certification, carbon removal certification. There is another development for monitoring of greenhouse gas emissions, really to have better monitoring verification. So there will be in the future also CO2M mission in order to have precise monitoring. And that's important for our policies, but also like to react when there are methane leaks, also to push main emitters to address problematic areas. So I would say space technologies are useful for many areas. Policy making, implementation, decarbonization, because we need to address the sectors that are emitting the most of greenhouse gas emissions, like energy, industry, agriculture, buildings, and in all areas we can use Earth observation data to be more efficient and to address better our problematic areas.
For monitoring and reporting, presumably as a key role as well, how is that organized, or how do you perceive that organized in international context, not just in Europe, but globally? We've heard UNGGIM and other international organizations. What's the DG CLIMA perspective on that?
I think that we are the most advanced, actually, but there are many international initiatives. Last week we had a meeting with WMO, World Meteorological Organization, that they are also building international system to have a database of emissions in all countries. So to have really contribution for all, like from all available data, to have climate watch. So to calculate, to have an overview of greenhouse gas emissions in the world. And I think that that is a good example like that we can have a synergy. And also WMO can profit from Copernicus data. What is important that Copernicus data is open and free for all. And it's not only the EU profiting from that, but also other parts of the world. Also, we are very active in framework of initiative of the UN Secretary General Guterres, early warning for all system, to cover all countries with early warning. And currently only half of the world has its own national system. And again, the Europe is quite advanced, and we can help other countries to build their early warning system. Already, the EU is providing data on droughts. There is a global drought observation, also for forest fire that it's enlarged, and for I think it's for floods. So already we are doing that, helping, for example, Africa to build their system. Recently, that was like help to Panama to create the Caribbean Copernicus Center. There is agreement with the Philippines. ESA is going to help also to build Copernicus Center there, and in many other countries. So there is a good cooperation between the EU and international organization, and we can really help other countries with our Earth observation data, with our technologies to advance and to provide beneficial services to all.
We heard earlier about some of these initiatives, and I think the industry is very much interested in what's going on, and it's certainly perceived as something that is a very strong and good policy direction. Maybe we'll come back to that, but firstly I just wanted to ask you what you perceive as being the main gaps. Where are the main gaps in information today that maybe satellites can contribute to, fully or partially, or supporting maybe further in situ measurements or other forms? So where are the main gaps?
I think that the main gap is maybe scaling up, and scaling up in all areas. That we already have a huge amount of Earth observation data, but then maybe we don't use it in all areas. So we need not only to identify possible use cases and to demonstrate their usefulness, but to scale up in sectors, but also in countries. Personally, I know that in some countries, they don't use a lot Copernicus, that it could be really a large use in agriculture, in forestry, also for adaptation. That I see a huge possibility to use Earth observation for adaptation, and also to develop some scenarios, what we can use, how we can manage water resources, how to use like food system, also for energy production. So there are already some solutions for wind, for solar, that we have data to provide better information, but sometimes it's not so used. And for scaling up, we need also people. So skills, that was discussed earlier. And for me, this is an issue. Scaling up, like finding possible use cases and building new satellites for specific missions. Like now, we are doing for expansion missions on greenhouse gas monitoring, on also better monitoring of Arctic. There will be something on ozone-depleting substances, soil moisture, but it's not only about providing data, afterwards to have solutions. So, and there we need synergy between the public sector and businesses. So, because businesses are important in many areas, like two main areas, I would say. It's important for developing solutions, like developing satellites to provide technology, and afterwards for scaling up, so for developing solutions based on Earth observation data. So satellites will provide us more, better data, and we need to use it for climate action. It's not only climate action, but for in my area, really, for climate action, I see huge possibilities, and we need cooperation in this area.
So we have more Copernicus missions envisaged up to 2030 and even beyond that. It's operational, it's sustainable. So in addition to those, your main concern then is about the capacity to absorb, to process, absorb, transform the data that's coming down. Okay. One last question. The private sector contributes strongly through the contributing missions. There is a thriving private sector in Europe. Do you see further ways for the private sector to contribute, or is the need to be taken care of through Copernicus and hence through the contributing missions?
I see a huge space for private sector. It's not only for contributing missions, because now many also huge but small companies, SMEs, startups, they are very dynamic, and they are moving many times faster than the public sector, and they are coming up with new solutions. So I see there is a space for everybody. So we have big Copernicus missions. We will rely on contributing missions, but also we can use solutions developed by other players. And there is also possibility for public authorities to buy some solutions specific for their needs, for their countries, and also businesses. So, for example, like air companies, they can use special solutions for them to reduce their emissions. They need the most effective routes. So the same in maritime, also in agriculture. So I think that there are many buyers, and I think that there are also many companies that they can provide solutions. And really, there we need synergy between the public and private, and we need to scale it up. And I think that I hope that we can also help to do it through our new initiatives, that is Destination Earth, to build a digital replica of the Earth, and in order to help us to fight climate change and provide more solutions for environment, for sustainability. And I'm glad that we started with 2 digital twins, specific on adaptation and on weather extremes.
Thank you. We're going to need to finish. I just need to at least fill one big gap that I left in my last comment when I just talked about the contributing missions and not about the services side. And of course, many of the audience here are actively participating to supplying services and information services. But you alluded to that in your response. I think we have to close it now. I'm getting quite strong messages to close things down. So Dusan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It has been an exceptional EOcafe. And thank you all for being here. And for anyone who's joined us online, I hope it's been sort of well communicated and understandable online. And look forward to seeing you in the EOcafe in 2 weeks' time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.